Okay, welcome to the ETD tutorial video 3. We're going to be talking about table of contents. In reference to the table of contents, we're going to talk about how to create a table of contents, how to modify a table of contents, and how to update a table of contents once it's been modified. So as you can see here in the document that I have a series of titles that I've already illustrated for you. Your titles may not exactly match these titles, but they should be similar and probably in something like this order. You may or may not have things like a list of figures and things like that, but this is pretty much your typical outline. So what I'm going to do first, as we discussed in a previous video, is I'm going to go ahead and open my task pane. Now when you're creating a table of contents, as we discussed before, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to apply your styles properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do that now. I'm going to go through these titles and I'm going to apply styles to them. Starting with the list of figures, I'm going to give that one a heading 1. And I'm going to go through the rest of these titles doing the same thing. Okay, as you've noticed, by the way, I have not added a heading style to these top 3 here, or the title page. Now, the reason why I have done that is because I'm thinking ahead, and I realize where it's going. And I know that these 3 titles here do not want to end up in the table of contents. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to create a new style just for the abstract acknowledgments and table of contents titles. Now, the way I do that is I click New Style, and I'm just going to call this first. I'm going to base it on normal, and it's pretty much going to match the other titles here. So I'm just going to make this Arial black. I think these others are 14 points, left-hand justified, and double spaced. And I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to go in, I'm going to highlight abstract, and I'm going to apply it there. Acknowledgements and table of contents. Now I notice they don't quite match, and I could go in here if I wanted to and just hit modify, and I think they may have been single spaced. That may be the difference. Okay, yeah, good. So now that I've got these applied, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually create the table of contents. Now to do that, I'm going to actually go down here to where the table of contents is going to go on the table of contents page. I'm going to put my cursor right here, and I'm going to go up to Insert, Reference, Indexes and Tables, just like that. And you'll notice that in here it's already asking me, I have a heading 1, a heading 2, and a heading 3 style that it's looking for. Now, once you get to this dialog box, you have to ask yourself several questions. The first question is, which styles did you use to label your titles and subtitles throughout the document? Now, in my case, I used heading 1. And I could, if I wanted to, simply tell Word, just look for heading 1. Now, I'm going to tell it to go ahead and look for heading 2 and heading 3 for purposes of later in the video. But I also need to ask myself other questions, like, is this particular layout style what I want? This is single space Times New Roman, probably 12-point font, okay? So I need to go down here and click on Options, and make sure first heading 1, 2, and 3 has the proper level associated with it here. And as long as the level is associated properly, it will have a check off to the left. You can scroll down this list and make sure there's no other styles that you may have in your document, like the block style we talked about in the last video. That style would also appear in this list, and if I wanted to include it in the table of contents for some reason, all I would have to do is actually assign a number to it, and then the checkbox would appear. For instance, here where it says heading 4, I could put a 4 next to that in level, and you'll notice a checkbox appeared here. If I wanted to get rid of it, I could just highlight it and hit delete, and it will disappear. Once you're pretty satisfied with this, you can click OK, and you can go on to Modify. Now you'll notice here under the Modify tab, we have Table of Contents level 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And what these numbers represent is essentially the numbers we were assigning in the last dialog box. When I typed in 4, for instance, I was typing in level 4 for heading 4. I was essentially telling that style, that when it comes into the table of contents, it's going to come in as a level 4. Now each level has a style associated with it. Here, normal plus indent left 0.5 inches, automatic update. That's the style currently associated with level 4 in the table of contents. Each one of the styles that come in that have a level assigned to them have one of these styles here. So let's go through really quick. Level 1s, which are my heading 1s, are going to come in normal plus automatic update. Level 2s are going to come in a little bit indented. And level 3s are going to come in indented again another time. Now that looks pretty good for me, and I click OK, and you'll notice here it'll actually give you a preview of what you're going to get before you click OK. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And you'll see here's list of figures, chapter 1, 2, 3, appendix A IRB letter, and references, and a nice little list. Now, you'll notice I didn't have any subtitles in this example, and if I wanted to add the subtitles, it would be very easy. Like anything else that you want to add to the table of contents, you have to go into the paper, create it, assign a style to it, and then go back up and tell the Word to update the table of contents. So let's go into chapter 1 here really quick. And let's do a subtitle. Now subtitles, like we talked about in the last video talking about styles, is going to be a heading 2. So we click heading 2, you see that it takes the visual attributes of heading 2 in. Then when you go up here and you right click on the table of contents and say update field, you say update entire table and click OK. You'll notice subtitle now appears below chapter 1 in the table of contents. Now a good way to check this to make sure that these are all good is you can hold down the control key and click on one of these links, and they'll actually take you to that place in the paper. Now I can't reiterate enough that when you're trying to adjust things in the paper, for instance if you wanted to change the title of chapter 3 from findings to just simply chapter 3, you don't do it up here in the table of contents. You do it down here in the paper, you make your modification, you then go up to the table of contents, you right click, say update field, and then update entire table. And you'll notice it will change it here accordingly. Now one of the things I want to touch on one more time that we had talked about in the previous video was when you have titles that have more than one part. Like for instance here we have chapter 1 introduction. If I wanted the introduction part of this to be on the next line, let's say I want it to be right here. If I was to simply put that on the next line by hitting the return key and going up to the table of contents and saying update the field, update entire table, you'll notice here it actually put chapter 1 and then the word introduction below it. And I have two different page numbers off to the right. Now as I had talked about before with the soft return, that's how you fix that problem. What you want to do is hold down the shift key and hit enter. You'll notice that Word's going to put this small bent arrow next to chapter 1, and when I go up here to update my table of contents and click OK, now it put chapter 1 introduction all in one line, even though it appears as two lines in the paper. Now you can have as many subtitles as you want in your paper. I have just one subtitle here. If I wanted to have a subtitle here, I could simply go in, highlight the title of the section, attach a heading 3 style to it, then just go up and update the table of contents by right-clicking, saying update entire field, and click OK. And you'll notice that that new subtitle that I just put in appeared here. You'll also notice, by the way, that all of these subtitles and titles are coming in exactly the way the preview was in the table of contents. This basically concludes our video on the creation of your table of contents. In the next video, video 4, we're going to talk about applying references to your table of contents for captioning, for things like your tables and your figures, and also how to create a list of tables and figures. We will use some of the things that I've shown you now in terms of the insert reference menu, where we will do most of that work here.